Over the course of the Ukrainian crisis, there has been a lot of terminology thrown around by politicians and the media to define the conflict. Most recently, we saw the central government in Kiev turn to label the anti-Kiev separatists as terrorists, saying that its military offensive is in fact an anti-terrorism campaign. And while there are, of course, many sides to this very divisive dispute, some have argued that the terminology in itself is oversimplified and has done damage to the scope of the argument. Joining me to discuss is Nebojša Malić, president of the Rice Institute for Serbian Studies. Thanks for joining me.
Pleasure to be here.
So first of all, I want to take a look at the definition of terrorism. So it's defined as the use of violence and intimidation in the pursuit of political aims. You know, many people here in the United States and abroad would say that that is a very fair description of what's going on over there. Now, do you disagree with that sentiment?
It is a perfect description of what's going over there, but it fits the allegedly government forces, not the people in Donetsk or Slavyansk or Lugansk or any of the other number of places that are refusing to recognize the right of the current regime in Kiev. The thing that we cannot help but forget, if we listen to mainstream media reports, but must not forget, is that the current regime, the government in Kiev that's declaring itself legitimate, is in fact a result of a coup. An armed overthrow of an elected government effected on the 22nd of February, despite a power-sharing agreement that was reached the day before. So these are the people who resorted to force, first and foremost, and who are resorting to force again. And the people they're fighting, the civilians in the East, have basically organized themselves to ensure their own liberty, to defend their own homes. These are the people who are not seeking to conquer anybody else. They're defending their own homes and asserting their own right to determine their own destiny. How does that make them terrorists?
A terrorist is certainly in the eye of the beholder. Well, just speaking in regards to that terminology, do you think words with loaded associations like that, I mean, when we hear the word terrorist, we think of something really, really bad. Do you think this is particularly damaging to this conflict?
It is horrendously damaging. First of all, I would argue that the prospect of a unified Ukraine as a centralized, unified country has been left a few exits back. It is no longer possible, partly because of the rhetoric used by the government in Kiev, partly because of the activities of the armed forces loyal to the regime who have been murdering civilians. They've even shot their own Ukrainian troops that have refused the legal orders. This whole thing is just falling apart completely. And the use of canned media terms such as terrorists, clearly intended to win them support in the West, are not making them any friends at home.
There's also been dispute, of course, over how the opposition has been labeled. Most media reports we see here say pro-Russian separatists. They don't say anti-Kiev separatists. So I'm wondering if you could shed some light on why are they all grouped as pro-Russian?
Well, because there's a very simple dichotomy created in the media here that because Russians are allegedly the invader, everything pro-Russian is automatically evil and wrong, whereas everything that is pro-West or pro-European or pro-American even is by definition right, and these people can do no wrong, whether it's, you know, murdering pregnant women or torturing people alive in buildings. The problem with this, obviously, is that it's not true. The protesters in the East, the people that have established their autonomous republics and throughout the country are refusing obedience to the regime in Kiev, they're not necessarily pro-Russian as they are anti-fascist. Because fascists and outright neo-Nazis are a large component of the coup regime. And knowing the history of World War II and how much the people in Ukraine itself, as well as what was then Soviet Union, suffered under Nazi invaders, you would understand that these people are not willing to have this repeated. And it is being repeated, and it would have probably been even worse had they not resisted.
Well, I want to broaden this out a little bit because this terminology issue is not only affecting Ukrainians, it's also an issue in other conflicts such as in Syria, of course, with Syrians who feel that they've been unfairly labeled as terrorists, the rebels there, for example. The question is, how do we really begin to sort of uproot this kind of terminology and really get rid of using these broad blanket terms?
Well, the reason the loaded terms are used is because they work as propaganda terminology. They wouldn't be employed by the media if they weren't effective. Fortunately, I guess, the degree of knowledge, the degree of understanding among the general populace, when they understand that, okay, these people are being called terrorists why are they being called terrorists, who is calling them terrorists, and why, that sort of leads them to conclude, oh, wait a minute, so if these people are calling these people terrorists, something is being fishy here.
Indeed, a lot of questions that need to be asked. Nebojša Malić, president of the Rice Institute for Serbian Studies, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.